Okay. All right, so now let's look at another graph. So this time we have to rewrite it. So we did that a little bit a couple days ago. We did those with the first half of graphing ellipses, or with the first half of the ellipsis section. And so when you look at this again, you'll see that this looks very similar to what it looked like with ellipses, just slightly different. The main difference, which you'll notice here, just like with ellipses, you have a y squared and an x squared. This time you'll notice that one of the two will be negative. Not both, but one of the two will be negative. Okay, so first thing I do want to mention is that we're going to do the similar process. We're completing the square. So the same kind of process. We're going to group the x's together and the y's together. You want to go ahead and put whichever one is negative second. So even if it's the x's, I know a lot of times we usually put the x's first. With ellipses, we always put the x's first. But this time, we're going to put whichever one is positive first. So in this case, we're going to do 9y squared. I'm going to go ahead and put the y's with it, 36y. Then minus 4x squared minus 24x. And then if there's a constant over here, you want to move it to the other side. In this case, it's already on the other side, so we're going to go ahead and be good with that. All right, and now I'm going to do my process of completing, or getting set up to do completing the square. So I need to factor something out, or factor any coefficient. Again, remember, just a reminder, we don't want to factor out any variables because we're going to add in that constant there. But here I can factor out a 9, so I'm going to go ahead and take out a 9. And you always want to factor out whatever that leading coefficient is, because you don't want your square terms to have a coefficient. Okay, so y squared minus 4y, and I'm going to leave that space there because that's where we're going to put that number to complete our square. Now here, with hyperbolas, whichever term is your negative square term, you want to make sure that you factor out a negative out of that too, at the very least. So here I'm going to factor out a negative 4, so minus 4, and I'll have x squared. If I factor negative 4 out of this, that's going to give me positive 6x. Leave a little space. Alright, now I'm going to start filling in those spaces. And if you remember how to do that, we look at the middle number here, divide it by 2 and square. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. Square that, you get 4. Whatever you add to this side, you have to add to this side, but remember to add it keeping in mind that if there was a coefficient in front of there. So I actually added 36 to this side, so I'm going to add a 36 here. Alright, then I'm going to do the same thing to the second thing. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. But that 9 is inside parentheses, that everything inside is being multiplied by negative 4. So I'm actually adding a negative 36 to the left side. So I'm going to add negative 36 to the right side. So I get 9. This factors into y minus 2 squared minus 4 x plus 3 squared equals 36. And then, just like ellipses, hyperbolas need to equal 1. So divide by 36. Divide by 36. We don't want to have any coefficients here, so we always want to simplify down. Even if we end up having to have a fraction in the denominator, it is possible to have a fraction in the denominator. It's not going to happen a lot, but it is possible, fraction slash a decimal. But you always want to completely cancel out this. So I'm going to take a 9 out of this, which means I've got to take a 9 out of this. Most of the time you will be able to completely take it out, and it'll come out evenly. Okay, so we get y minus 2 squared over 4 minus x plus 3 squared over 9 equals 1. Alright, so now we need to find our center. And this is what I was mentioning about paying attention when you're finding your center of hyperbolas. So because your x-coordinate is second, but it still has to be listed first. So my x-coordinate is going to be -3. Then I go over here, my y-coordinate is 2. So make sure that you put those in the right order so you don't mix them up. Even if your x is listed second, it's still your x-coordinate. So -3, 2, there's your center. And then I'll go ahead and get my box. So my y, it's underneath my y is 4, which is 2 squared, so 2 and 2. Underneath my x is 9, which is 3 squared, so 3 to the left, 3 to the right. I'm going to draw my box. Draw those diagonals. Alright, now this time the y is listed first, which means my transverse axis is going to be vertical. So these points here are my vertices. And then my graph is going to open up and down from there. And there is your hyperbola. Alright, that is it for this first half of section 3. Tomorrow we will look at writing the equations.